semi.
I'll make it up.
All right, we are back from recess. It is Dave Shiner and
Suzanne Hill.
Suzanne Hill.
Hill, yes.
All right, with Air Med Care, Air Ambulance membership presentation and decision.
Appreciate that. Thank you for seeing us today. So just to let you guys know what I've given you some pamphlets here, which is basically not only have a brochure in there that shows our regular membership program, but also eventually I'll get to what the actual proposal for your county is. A little bit of history about Air Med Care. The membership program has been around since '85. I'm very pleased and proud to let you know that we just were notified that we have 2.5 million members now. And I talked to you, it was 1.8.
Oh.
They did a revamp and figured it out, and we got 2.5 now. The brochures that you have, just so you're aware, those are both the exact same thing.
Okay.
Just two different covers so that you don't get confused with them. But if you look at the new one that Laura just gave you, on the back, you'll see that there's a list of companies. Franklin's found it there. There you go. All 5 of those companies are owned by one umbrella corporation, AMGH, Air Medical Group Holdings. Each company is an individual branch of the company, but like I said, they're all under the same umbrella. Reach for Life, the bottom service, is the air ambulance service that's located in both Bozeman and Helena, among a bunch of other states I'll get into. But that's the primary air ambulance. Are you guys familiar with Summit?
Yep.
Okay, Reach bought Summit about a year and a half ago, roughly.
Okay.
And Summit had 4 or 5 bases, and Reach is part of an organization, as you can see at the top there, of 250 plus in 32 states. And I have some unofficial news. Apparently, we're expanding 2 more states, which is kind of nifty. Can't wait to find out where, but it's coming. The membership was originally set up. Our originator waited 2.5 hours for a flight for his dad in a rural community. He was a former Med pilot from Vietnam, and he said this obviously doesn't work. So he went around to local farmers, ranchers, and businesses and said, if you guys chip in $500 towards a helicopter, I'll guarantee your household flights for life, no out-of-pocket expense. And what that means is we do collect from insurance companies, whatever they're going to pay, but then the membership writes a check for the difference. And the reason why I pointed out all the different companies is the membership literally, and I know it's probably done in a spreadsheet and through some program, and maybe a paper check isn't necessarily cut, but funds do change hands from Air Med Care, the network top company, to the actual air ambulance service. Now, the benefit of this is it creates another revenue stream for rural areas like Townsend, okay? Because obviously having 2 $8 million aircraft sitting within 10 minutes or so of your town is kind of a nifty spot to have.
Yeah.
Just looking at this here, there we go, so actually a little over 20 minutes. These maps right here, and feel free to take a look at them here. I kind of brought them in to let you see what the coverage is. This one's Bozeman. No, you're good. This one's Bozeman, and that one's the Helena. It just shows you the coverage for the aircraft. As I mentioned before you came in, Nick, the aircraft is Augusta 109A. It basically goes 180 knots an hour.
Yeah, I did 13 years with the sheriff's office here.
Nice.
And when they did their training out here at the Toston Fire Hall,
Okay,
I got to come out and
check it out.
check it out and talk with the pilots and stuff.
That wasn't too long ago, was it?
Nope.
A month ago?
No, that was, when I went through it, I think it was about 2 years ago.
Okay, so when it was still Summit.
Yep, still Summit.
The aircraft is still the same, but the crew and the training requirements have definitely changed. The biggest difference between Summit and Reach is Reach has been around since '87.
Okay.
Okay, their training requirements, their management system is amazing. We are nationally accredited through CAMES, which is kind of like the 5-star rating for air ambulance services, and all of our bases in this area have been CAMES certified, which is kind of cool. Our training expectations for our flight crew, just so you guys are on board understanding it, we don't hire anybody that doesn't have the been there, done that shirt, that hasn't got 3 to 5 years experience, whether it be our flight crew, or we love to aim towards military pilots because they get a lot of hours for free.
Right.
The other thing is that our flight crew, we have a flight nurse and a flight medic along with the aircraft. They have 3 to 5 years experience in a high traffic ICU ER environment. So you're not gonna get anybody that doesn't have the required training to be on that craft. Also, you know, we're a 24/7 service. There's a key component to this right here. We are the only 24/7 emergency service in Bozeman or Helena. There is not anybody else in those communities that do it 24/7. We are staffed round the clock. The other thing, which is really nifty, we have the 2 helicopters and we also have 3 planes that support this area. We have one that's stationed permanently in Helena, and it's a Pilatus, whatever. It goes 300 miles an hour. I apologize, I'm not that familiar with the plane, but I know it goes 300 miles an hour and it'll get you from this area to anywhere that the doctor says that you have to go for life and limb. Then we have additional assets, sorry?
I said, wow.
Yeah, it's pretty nifty. Then we have additional assets, one in Graybull, Wyoming, which you can see down on this one, you see Cody and then Graybull down in that lower corner. As well as, and that's a King Air, which is a bit of a bigger plane. And then we have another one down in Scotts Bluff, Nebraska. And the reason I tell you this is just to let you know that coverage is not a concern. We have lots of aircraft. And with our full membership, which I'll get into what I'm going to be presenting to you guys in a second, if you're a member, we will fly to any hospital in Montana and pick you up and take you to wherever the doctor says you gotta go. And it's kind of a cool deal. Now, first off, before I get into what I've got for you guys, do you have any questions at this point? Did I miss anything? Feel free to chime in. No? Okay, so I'm really excited to tell you guys today about a county, it's called an MSP, a municipal site plan, okay? Madison County just re-signed their site plan. They've had one since November of last year. Marr County just signed their site plan, their first one, and it took effect May 15th. And what a site plan is it's a modified membership that covers every resident of your county for a drastically reduced price. Basically, if a resident of Broadwater County is flown by us from Broadwater County, they would have no out-of-pocket expense, with the one exception that if they have no insurance whatsoever, we do bill them out at Medicare rates, which are a drastically reduced, you know, the amount of money you're talking there is probably a quarter of what a regular flight would be. Those flights will be to whatever facility the doctor says that the patient needs to go for life and limb. We do not control any aspect of why a patient is flown. If the doctor says they're going, we're taking them. If they're a member, if they're a non-member, it doesn't matter. If they have insurance, don't have insurance, doesn't matter, we fly them. But with the site plan, with the municipal site plan, it basically goes and allows your residents to not have to worry about any out-of-pocket expense, which, well, how does that affect the county? Is it leaves all that money in the county. Insurance on average pays about 30%. Okay, so out of a $30,000 flight, insurance pays about 10 grand, leaving a $20,000 balance bill. There are some insurance companies that pay more. There are some insurance companies that pay considerably less. Just to kind of break it down, I know I did this for Laura, but I'll explain it to you guys. We have 4 ways that we get paid. We get paid by either a self-pay individual, Medicaid, Medicare, and then insurance. The self-pay, we collect 3% of that bill. Medicaid, we collect $3,500 per flight. Medicare, we collect between $6,500 to $18,000. And then insurance pays whatever insurance pays. And a lot of times insurance has their own value system, and they have their own idea of what our flights are worth, and that's what they've been working on lately. You've heard a lot of stuff in the news. They're coming up with their own value for air ambulance flights, and they're saying, okay, a $30,000 flight to us is worth $15,000. So we're gonna pay 80% of $15,000. And then the patient's deductible comes out of that 80%. But with how our program works, we bill out within 48 hours. So basically, if there's any deductible, we have a very high chance of getting it, because a lot of times hospitals and other services bill out in 2, 3, 4 weeks. And then because we bill out within 48 hours, that deductible goes to us. Well, we take whatever the insurance company pays. Let's say on that $30,000 flight, they pay 10 grand as an example. The patient doesn't have to pay their deductible to us. The membership pays the remaining balance, deductible, or, so it's a true zero out of pocket, with the exception to uninsured individuals. Now, I was trying to think how this affects, and getting back to the financial end for the community. First off, we do not send people to collections, okay? We don't. It's not only is it bad business, but it's just, it doesn't benefit anybody beyond wiping out families, okay? With the one exception being, which I think you'll agree with this, if somebody receives a payment from their insurance company or whomever intended to go to us, and they go out and buy themselves a new truck,
Yeah.
we're gonna go get our money. But that's a little bit different than somebody having to go and wipe out their savings and all that type of stuff. We're not looking at doing that. This service is designed to fly people. That's it. Now, with that being said, so let's just say that back to that $30,000 flight, and I've come across 2 people come to mind specifically that have had over the last 10 years a $24,000 balance bill. Not necessarily through us, but just through air ambulance service in general. And they paid and they paid and they paid on it forever. They stopped basically, to some degree, living, because you have that additional $24,000 debt is not a small bill you're going to be paying on a monthly basis. I have another example of an individual in my mind that, and Suzanne, you're familiar with this, his daughter was flown, and they had, she was a very high, how do you explain this? Her medical condition required very high-end medical care, and she was flown to Seattle to a children's hospital, and the flight cost was $84,000. Heart-related type stuff. The insurance paid $24,000, leaving a $60,000 balance bill. The cool part is that individual was covered under an MSP, and that $60,000 balance bill went away. Or at least it's in the process of doing that. It's going to.
Stress went away.
Stress went away.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, back to where I was going with this, and I apologize to digress.
Oh, you're fine.
That $30,000 flight where 20 grand is balance billed, that family obviously is not eating at local restaurants. They're not buying cars. They're not buying new houses. Everything's on hold until they figure that out.
Sure.
This program would mean that those folks would still be spending that money in the community. Now, as far as flights go, I don't have an exact number for how many flights come out of Townsend or out of Broadwater County, but Marr County has 1.8 flights a month, and we actually think that number's low. With the county, we all think the number's a little low. Madison County has 2.8 flights a month. And as far as population goes, you guys are kind of right in the middle. And also, you guys are right in the middle between Bozeman and Helena. So there's a chance that your number of flights might be higher than halfway point with that. So let's just go with 2 flights a month.
Sure.
An average flight being $30,000, which they can be anywhere from 20 to whatever, you're looking at saving $40,000 for the community a month. And that's just on an average month, multiply that by 12. That's quite a bit of $480,000 for the community. Now, the MSP, as you guys see here, basically what you're looking for is one, or looking at, I should probably go and have my glasses so I can be looking at it too. It was actually, Laura came back quite a bit less than what I originally thought.
Yeah,
You're looking at $24,060, covers your entire county for the year.
And that's okay, right on this, right?
Of course, those are your copy. With the opportunity, a normal membership is $65 a year, okay? And that covers an entire household,
65 a year.
65 a year, and that's related or not. I say repeatedly, this program is set up to fly people, and to go and back that up, you guys have probably had memberships in the past, you know, some kind, whether it be Costco, Shopko, or even a health club. At day 366 of a one-year membership, that membership is usually toast, it's gone. And with no exceptions. Our membership is made to fly people, it's made to take care of people. We have a 90-day grace period. If somebody were to sign up for the lowly $65 a year to cover their entire household, and a month later, somebody out of their household was flowing, all we ask is that they pay $65, and that flight's covered. The other thing, if with a full membership, if you have somebody that's in college, prime example, my brother lives in Helena. His daughter goes to Missoula, so she's in Missoula, she's been there for 3 years. If she were needed to be flown from Missoula and we were the ones doing the flight, she's covered under my brother's plan.
So does that work also for, say your kid goes to out-of-state college?
It does,
Okay.
yeah. Now, the big thing to keep in mind, and I always like to go and point this out, each one of these red dots on the back is a base. So obviously, if they are going to Minnesota as an example, we don't have a base in Minnesota. So obviously, they wouldn't be covered
Sure.
there, but if they drove back down through our coverage area and heaven forbid something were to happen, they would be covered in that area. And one other thing about this, like I said, you'll see we're not in Washington, Idaho, or Minnesota, right? That doesn't mean we won't fly there.
Okay.
All that means is that we don't have a base there yet, so we can't, we won't have any flights start from that location. The FFA has regulations and stipulations about what's required to license an air ambulance service to pick somebody up. We can drop them anywhere,
Right.
but you're not allowed to go and start a flight in a base that you're not properly licensed, in a state that you're not licensed for. So the other thing is, just to talk about the company's philosophy is to do what's right. I've worked for a few companies, and you go in with your eyes open thinking, okay, are they real or are they, blowing smoke, And I've been with the company now for 7 months, and absolutely everything that I've seen backs up the fact that they do what's right every time, not what's fiscally right. They don't take a look at the number at the bottom of the spreadsheet, and if it's red, the answer is no, and if it's green, the answer is yes. They take a look at it from the aspect of what's right and what's wrong, and we're doing what's right. One final thing, with the full membership, and I'll get into that, how that works with your MSP, I have personal experience with other memberships that if you are in a high probability of being flown, a donor situation, or somebody's waiting to receive a kidney or whatever, those memberships will not sign a person up. We look for those people, because those are people that need this. Those are people that are going to benefit from the program. Obviously, $65 a year for the full membership is not going to go and make anybody rich. But if it can go and help maintain an aircraft or two in your community, then it's obviously a worthwhile benefit. Now, back to the MSP for a quick second. couple things that we do. People that are in Broadwater County would be allowed to upgrade to the full membership if they chose to. And the really cool thing is that the upgrade for the entire household is only $35. And I really have to specify what household means. That means anybody under their roof. You could have 20 people living under a roof, nobody's related, one person has a membership and everybody's covered.
That's, just for clarification, that is with this agreement signed, that $35.
Correct. The $35 value is with the MSP side. Without the MSP, it's $65. But the neat thing about it is, with the full membership, the MSP only covers Broadwater County residents in Broadwater. With the membership of $35, they can go anywhere in our coverage area and they're covered. And the other caveat, or the other really cool thing is, for those folks with no insurance, when they upgrade to the full membership covers the entire cost of their flight.
So the $65 per household is if we do not
Correct.
do the MSP,
Correct.
and the $35 is if we do.
Correct.
Okay.
Now, what we would end up doing is if you folks saw the value to get on board, we do a couple things. We do a direct mailer to every resident to let them know what you guys have done for them. We do some advertising, press release, different things like that to go and raise awareness, to make sure that everybody is aware of what's happening. We contact all the first responders, whether it be the sheriff, police, hospital, ambulance, fire department, everybody, and let them know about the program so that they are aware who they need to call. Okay? And lastly, we do a rather a big deal as far as the signing goes. We bring in some, whether, I don't know if we have, this is kind of an odd area with TV and stuff, but we bring in the press to some degree, hopefully if it would be TV, and do an actual signing where we bring the helicopter in and have a table and shake hands and smile at the cameras. And let people know what you guys have done for the community. And I think that you would agree, the value's obviously there, but for the value for the citizens, for the health of the community, because I understand you guys are stewards of the tax dollars. I get that. I'm a taxpayer, I get it. But in the big picture, being a steward of the health of the community is also a pretty large piece involved with this. And I think that it's a good value, a good way to cover your folks.
Okay, so as it stands, anybody in the county can pay $65 to
Correct.
be covered.
Correct. What you guys end up paying is approximately about $4.50 per resident.
The other side of this is, I don't know how many people are aware of this. As it stands now, if we did the MSP, then your awareness lets people know.
Goes up.
Right. Right, so after a year, they could be responsible for the 65 if they wanted.
Correct.
But that would give us an opportunity to let them be aware of what.
And I actually had a phone call with Bobby before I came in, just to let her know that this was happening, and she's very in tune with what's going on. You know, the biggest thing, like you said, is awareness.
Okay, so in other words, if I want to get this, I can pay the $65 and have this.
Correct.
If my neighbor wants it, they pay $65 and have it.
Correct.
And now the 35, what does the county involvement then?
Nothing. What the 35 does is the county, what's that?
Wait, I just want to make sure he understands it's after the 24,000. That would be the county.
The county pays the 24,000, and then if you want it, you want the full service, you pay 35 instead of 65.
Because right now, if a Broadwater citizen is in Cascade County, and they were flown by us, or Lewis and Clark, or Gallen, or whatever, they would, whether the MSP was signed or not, they would not be a member, they would not be covered. Once the MSP is signed, with that $35, they're covered in those other areas. It's an expansion upon what you guys would already do.
But
This-
without the $35, they're covered here.
Yeah, without
They
the
don't have to pay
$35,
more.
it's just Broadwater, and they're covered being here. I know you guys have quite a large resident population at the hospital, the older folks. They would, obviously, their travel is probably not as high as some, and they would all be covered. Every one of them that's here would never have to worry about it, wouldn't have to worry about the $35 or anything.
But if the county doesn't pay you 24,000, you can't have it, is that right?
You can, it'd just be at $65.
You're right,
Yeah.
okay.
And
Yes.
members only, whereas if we do this and they don't pay the 35 and they're here in the county, they're covered.
Right.
Exactly.
So they don't have to be members to be covered.
Right, and I really want to clarify one thing. We'll fly folks whether they're covered or not, whether they're members or not. There's no differentiation between who we fly involving this, none. Okay, we get called, we come, that's it. With this, it's a way to go and,
Peace of mind.
yeah, it's huge. You know, I joke and I say, you know, I carry a spare tire in my car, I don't ever want to use it, but I'm not taking it out either.
Right.
And this way, with an average of 2 flights a month, it's a guaranteed way to go and drop the cost on the citizens of local parks.
Here's an example, I live over in Madison County, and that's one of the other MSPs. I get phone calls often from folks who are just learning about this, because even still, you know, it takes folks a little while. Unfortunately, a lot of folks figure it out when they're flown, and they're worried about the bill. That actually happened. The lady's husband had been flown, and she was, you know, saying, where's the bill, where's the bill? I'm really worried about the bill, rather than just celebrating that her husband made it, and the flight crew took care of him. And we were, you know, the bill's not coming, there's no bill. And to listen to that woman's relief, I mean, it just gives you goosebumps thinking about it, because that's so much money. But anyway, when I get some phone calls from folks, you know, like if you're in Bozeman and they see a flyer and they're interested, and they'll call me and, oh, I wanna do the membership, and I let them know that they're already covered in Madison County. The next questions are usually, do you or someone in your household travel? You know, and over in Ennis, those folks are seasonal as heck, you know, they're going down to Arizona, and perfect candidate. But if they don't travel, and they really truly don't travel, they're never driving to Butte for groceries or whatnot, then they're maybe not a candidate to upgrade, but they're still taken care of at home.
Sure.
All right, any further questions?
No. We just had one, 3 weeks ago, airlifted Seattle
Yeah,
for burns.
yeah. And about the same time, somebody was airlifted to Billings for heart. So there's your two. We had a child, newborn, airlifted to Salt Lake City about 10 years ago. And then we had,
Numerous crashes.
yeah, another burn.
There's another-
Propane tank blew up.
Key thing for you, by the way, 9 out of 10 flights are hospital to hospital, but that doesn't stop us from landing on the side of a hill or on the road or anything like that. But the biggest thing that people need to remember is that Montana, as you guys, and it's one of the reasons we live here, is a small state. With our population being as low as it is, and medicine advancing so quickly, the doctors that are doing, now they've got a doctor for the brain, another one for the heart, another one for the joints, and they're not here. They're in Seattle, they're in Salt Lake, they're in Denver, because of the populations that are there to support them. So a lot of times, even if you end up going into the doctor's office for something basic, it turns into something major pretty quick, and they're like, well, we gotta get you to the specialist. So a lot of times flights are, you get 1, 2, 3 flights, as opposed to just none or one.
Right.
And the other thing about this is, it's unlimited flights. There's no stipulations based upon anything. Whether the insurance, let's just say, we had a flight last year out of West Yellowstone, some folks were traveling from Louisiana, and I think I mentioned this to you, where he obviously from sea level had chest pains. The doctor at the hospital in West Yellowstone ordered the flight. They flew him to Billings, where Billings did their tests and found out that it was altitude sickness. The insurance company declined paying for the flight because it was not a life-threatening flight, even though the doctor ordered it and they had no clue ahead of time what the program was. The wife said in the right company, luckily for us, I wish I was back home, we have a membership. Well, the membership was us. And even though the insurance company paid nothing, our membership paid the entire bill. And that's the big thing about it, is we're not trying to figure out ways to get out of paying, we're not trying to figure out ways to get out of flying people. This program is with the best intentions to go and take care of our community.
If we do this, do we get a report from you on how many
We can, yeah.
people? That would be good, and of course not their names, but it would
Right,
be good to
right.
have the numbers.
And we can do that quarterly, it's what we do for Madison County.
Okay,
Yeah. Ron Walters, who is one of the business directors for REACH, I don't see any reason why he wouldn't be able to go and come down and help us present those numbers to you.
okay. The other thing that I'm thinking about this 24,000 is, we've been very sparing with our PIP. We haven't spent very much of it this year. This is drop in the bucket when you look at what our PIP payment is. But I understand there's an awful lot of issues with the fact that insurances are not paying for these flights. And I understand there's gonna be some fight in the legislature over this. If we wanted to advocate on behalf or fight a bad bill on this, it seems to me we carry a whole lot more weight in our voice if we can say, yes, we are paying this, so that our citizens are aware there's the program and can get them started on it, taking advantage of that PR piece. We have a lot stronger voice in the legislature if we have, you know,
Got
skin in the game. Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
You know, one of the biggest things that I'd like to touch on, obviously you guys are aware of what's going on out there. I always like to let people know to think about the motivations behind what's the news that's being laid out there. The media is unfortunately spinning everything in the absolute worst light humanly possible. The insurance companies, which I was lucky enough to have a very smart person go and tell me about, insurance companies don't spend money without a reason. And they spend money to save money, and they're throwing a ton of money at this. And then lastly, unfortunately, there's the political aspect where folks are taking a look at how they can go and move forward their political agenda by making a big deal out of it. I went to Ron Walter, who's a very strong presence in our community, in our REACH community, and said, why are you sitting back? Why aren't you sitting there saying, this is all crap? And I'm not saying what they're all saying is lies. It's not all lies. But the way that they're spinning it is definitely, in my opinion, the equivalent of lying. But I said to Ron, why aren't you out there and saying, okay guys, bull, come on, let's look at this truly and really. And he says, we're not going to. We're going to go and keep presenting it in the right light, being there's a term for it, I can't think of what it is, but where you take the high road.
Above the fray,
Yeah.
out of the mud.
Yeah, and half of it coming from a media background, half of it I agree with, because it's right, but the other half I don't, because unfortunately the one that's screaming the loudest is usually the one that's heard.
Yeah.
But I've been really blessed over the last 6 months to see people that are able to take a look at the program, take a look at not the program, but the situation, take a look at the whole dynamic between media, insurance, us, and the elected officials, and say, okay, what's the truth? What are we looking at here? And I get calls on a regular basis from companies that say, we want to get on board to support you. Not only do we believe in what you're doing, but it's a good thing for the community. So we are going to prevail in the long run.
Sure.
So.
To what you just said a minute ago, the one thing in all of those messages that kind of gets lost is very few people are talking about the patient. They're maybe it's your best friend's mom who gets flown in and saved because our helicopter was able to stay.
Sure.
See, and here, the biggest thing that we're trying to accomplish is we're trying to get the patient out of the middle. About 5 years ago, two things changed in the insurance industry. One was the insurance companies changed how they pay. They had a sum that was called fair and reasonable, I believe, that they were willing to go and work with air ambulance services and pay. And about 5 years ago, they changed that amount and reduced it by about half. That's when they came up with their own idea of what flights are worth. And that's how they came up, justified doing that. The other thing that they did was they added one line item to a lot of their contracts where before 5 years ago, as an example, the patient could come to us and say, hey, look, you know, my insurance company only paid X number of dollars, what do I do? They could sign a single piece of paper transferring the responsibility of that bill to us, the air ambulance service. And then we could, and the bill's gone. Then we could take our legal counsel, our corporate attorneys, and directly go after the insurance company for a fair payment. But by that line item being put into the insurance policies, the patient is no longer allowed to transfer responsibility to a third party. So now they have to take their corporate lawyers, which of course they don't have, or pay $20,000 to try and save themselves $25,000 or more or less or whatever. But and that's where, you know, it's really truly sad, and I hope that with time, with everything that's going on in legislation and with people looking ahead and seeing where it's going, that they're gonna see the light and say, okay, you're right, this is not fair to the patient or anybody else.
Okay, there's another question.
Sure.
Say the county has this,
Yes, sir.
and say, I don't pay the $35.
Correct.
Everybody's got to pay the $35, or they're
No.
not. You would still pick me up if I haven't paid the $35.
Here's, just to clarify that, we'll pick you up either way, whether you pay or you don't pay. Okay, whether you guys sign up or not, we pick up everybody.
Right, yeah, I understand that.
Then, with this program, if you were in Broadwater County and the county had purchased this MSP, your flight would be covered. Now,
So we don't have to worry about the people in here paying anything extra.
nobody has to pay anything extra. Nobody.
If we go with this.
In reality, nobody has to pay anything extra whether you guys sign or not. But with this program in place, you as the county commissioners would be protecting the residents of Broadwater County if they traveled, if they wanted the extended coverage. That's when they could choose to pay the $35. And if you guys chose not to sign this, they could, the same folks that travel or want the coverage could choose to spend the $65. But either way, we'll fly everybody. The only benefit is with this, every resident of Broadwater County is covered in Broadwater County. No extra money required whatsoever. Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Because I was thinking, what good's gonna be, because 90% of the people probably are gonna
Right.
pay this 35 or whatever, see.
Right.
But they are covered.
They're covered. In Broadwater County, they're covered.
Like in Sheridan, Montana, a lot of those folks don't travel, you know, and so they're covered partially, which means they're covered if their accident happens in Madison County. And then, you know, if they decide that they want to get a little more travel-y, then they might consider upgrading that $35, but otherwise they're covered.
Okay, now they would be covered, say they were coming, they crashed over here in Broward
Correct.
County.
Exactly.
They're not covered then.
Correct.
You are
They're just covered in the county, unless they paid the 35.
Exactly.
correct. Perfect. You got
Yep.
it.
Takes me a while to get this
It's
all.
really complicated, it is.
You know,
really-
it's a
so
new
simple,
con-
it's complicated.
Well, you know, it
concept.
sounds pretty good, sometimes I think something sounds good, you gotta really question it.
You do.
You know, and I have worked for some companies in the past where you come on board, you know, I keep my eyes open. I want to make sure that what I'm presenting to you guys is a true picture and a true representation of what we're offering, okay? I have not yet, and I'm sitting there, and every time I say this, I always go back in my head and I think about anything negative. I have not found one single negative thing about this program. There's no hidden message, there's no on line 47, page 53, down at the bottom where it says, if you don't pay attention to this line, you're hooped. There's none of that. Everything that you guys need to know as far as terms and conditions are on 2 pages. The last one being the signature page. I signed my mom up out of Belt. We don't have our helicopter coverage in Belt. It can go there, but it's, Mercy flight is half a block closer. But the second my mom gets to the hospital, that's when the program kicks in. There's another key thing, by the way. It's a patient's choice on who flies them. A lot of people don't realize that they think that, well, I'm at the hospital, I'm at the mercy of whatever they say. Air ambulance is very much like a car accident where you get to pick who fixes your car. Air ambulance is an insurance product. And it's the exact same way. They cannot tell you who's gonna fly you.
Here you won't have much choice, really, would you?
Correct.
I mean, I can see in a bigger area, there'd be several.
There are circumstances
probably.
where they would try and bring in Billings, because Billings has an airplane.
Oh.
Great Falls has an airplane. But with us being right here, it's kinda,
Okay.
and here's another really cool thing. Deaconess Hospital in Bozeman bought the full membership for every employee they have. And they've got 1,500 employees. So now understand, just so I'm not misleading you, we do discounts based on volume. So they got a fair discount with that many employees. But they still wrote a very sizable check supporting this program because they think it's a good program.
That's pretty clear.
So with that being said, how would you guys like us to proceed? Obviously, I would imagine you'd like to talk about it. I'm good with that. I'm not a push type person. Life doesn't work like that. But I would like to know what you guys would like to see.
Okay, say if we go with this, then would you, actually you just talked about it, would you have a press release type thing?
Oh, yeah.
Or story, or telling what it is, so somebody like me can finally understand it? Other people can understand.
It's
like I
in
can.
our best interest to get everybody on board to know what's going on. So we do absolutely everything that we can, right down to if a town meeting would be required where I could go and set it up in the newspaper and every bulletin board around town, come on down to talk to the guy from the air ambulance. I'm on board.
Sure.
If, what I did in Mark County, and I've not completed it yet, but I've started going in businesses down there where anybody gathers, right from the parts store to the coffee shops to you name it. And I'm dropping off, I don't have one with me, but papers that say, this is what's happening. It does have an enrollment form on the flip side that covers $35 if they choose. But the biggest thing is, and as I said with Mark County, and even Madison County when I was down there on Monday, if anybody has questions, have them call me. Please, and I'm going around handing out cards to everybody that might possibly receive a question or a phone call about the program, to the clinic, to the hospital, to you name it, send them my way. The really cool thing about this program is Suzanne's out of Bozeman, or Sheridan, sorry, and I'm out of Great Falls. We're here. If we talk to people daily. Matter of fact, my phone just buzzed, I'm wondering.
In the full household, that's $35, not per person, that's per household.
Correct.
Okay.
We had a couple situations out of the Deaconess in Bozeman. Obviously, we get involved if there's any concerns, okay? And I'll be straightforward with you. We're a company, we do the best we can. Stuff happens, it does. But, prime example, we had one flight out of the Madison County situation that as the transfer to Summit took place, there was some employee changes, some different things happened. Their situation, I don't want to say it fell between the cracks, because it did, it didn't. It was,
The communication is definitely.
that's it, exactly. It was being handled, but the patient wasn't 100% aware of what's going on. When we finally figured out what was that there was a problem there, we had it handled, we found out Monday and it was fixed by Friday. Now, resolved 100% no, but everybody knew what was going on, everything was understood that it was going to be resolved. Out of Deaconess, we had two situations that arise. One was a roommate of a nurse, just a roommate, he was a college student. It had nothing to do with the college aspect of this, but they just happened to be roommates and he was flown. And they called and they said, hey, am I covered? Yeah, you are. All we need is a piece of mail with your address on it. Same thing happened with a father-in-law. He had a P.O. box for his address instead of their physical address. And a pretty amazing car accident. And when he was finally able to, all we got was 2 pictures of mail. And I mean, he could have sent one that showed his name, his address, and it's done, it's covered. It's not fill out 47 forms, it's not, you know, like I said, we're trying to keep it simple, we're not trying to complicate things.
Sure.
That's why I like this, because everything, like I said, you're talking 2 pages.
So you brought up the P.O. box. I do have a question about
Sure.
that. We have a tremendous amount of people with P.O. boxes. How do you go about for the physical for the household?
Every household has a 911 address, and they're usually attached to the P.O. boxes.
Okay.
I worked in a business that we dealt with the Highline on a regular basis, and it's really not a big deal.
Okay.
It's not a big issue.
All
When
right.
you're looking at MSPs as well, I mean, they're kind of zip code too, like the zip code.
Oh,
Can
okay.
reflect towns and they're be okay,
Okay.
especially if you're an MSP.
Sure.
And the cool thing is, I can guarantee from my mind, is that we're gonna err on the good side. We're gonna go at it as, okay, is this, how does this work? Is this, okay, this person's borderline, let's cover them. It's not, like I said, our objective is to fly people. It's gonna take care of itself if we're flying people.
Sure.
And
I have a question.
Yeah.
In Broadwater County, we have, at the north end of the county, people have East Helen addresses. At the south end of the county, they have Three Forks addresses. And there are problems with motor vehicle, with taxes, with death certificates. How are you going to handle this?
We're gonna take a look at their physical address.
Okay.
Now, if,
But like I say, they're gonna say East Helena, they're gonna say Three Forks.
what
So
what would probably end up happening in that situation is I'd get in a car and go down and visit.
Okay.
Yeah, we work
Okay.
through that.
I put 250 miles a day on, no problem, love it.
Okay,
And going and actually meeting somebody that's flown, it's a great opportunity for us because we get to find out about their experience. And maybe if they wanna share it, they can share it. If they don't have to, but it's a great opportunity to have a face-to-face. And like those 3 stories I've got, they really pump me up. They make me feel good because, what we're doing, I've been in a couple of jobs in the past where you go to work and you go home and you're not doing anything. The doctors take care of the health and we take care of the finances. Our role is just as important as what the doctors are. And I mean, obviously, I'm not trying to say we're anything like doctors, but you know what I mean, in the big picture.
all the pieces have to
Yeah,
work to
exactly,
keep the machine
exactly.
running, absolutely.
And when you get the call that say there's a car accident north of town, and you're picking up, you don't know if that person's gonna have insurance or have this coverage or anything, you gotta get, just like if they walk into the emergency room in the hospital, you
You
gotta
got
take
it.
care of them.
Yes.
And then try to collect whatever you can.
Their method of payment does not affect our flight whatsoever. And here's another neat thing, is that Reach, their philosophy is to have us pre-launched whenever possible. So and they explain it to all the EMS providers, if you think you're gonna need us, call us. We would rather be 15 minutes ahead of the curve and turn around and go home than be needed and be 15 minutes later. And the other thing is, if we land on the scene, and understand, I don't fly and I don't deal with bodily fluids, so don't for a second think I'm in that area. But if we have a situation where our crew is flown to the scene of an accident and we land, we will assist with whatever's needed. If the patient doesn't get flown and we're the highest level of care on the scene, we'll get in the ambulance and go with the ambulance. If we aren't needed and they're not flown or we're not needed in the ambulance, we lift off after helping, after doing everything that's needed, and nobody gets billed. It's a pretty cool.
Yeah.
And you know, if you guys get a chance and you get to, you know, our one base in Belgrade down there, do you guys know where the airport is down that way? She can tell you
I'll leave
exactly
my
where it
business
is.
card if you want to see that face, I'll make sure you get that.
Same with Helena, go knocking. They would love to give you guys a tour and show you the facility, show you the aircraft, show you everything. And I know down in Helena, it's, you know where Airport Road is, that one just
Yep.
before
Oh, yeah.
Walmart?
Yeah.
When you're going towards the Army helicopter, you go, you hang a right at, just before Walmart there, get down to the end and hang another left, just about a block down, not even that, there's a big blue building right there, with a little sign that says reach on the outside. But they're 24/7.
Well, you're in that complex down in there.
Yeah, yeah. So, as a matter of fact, right when you turn that corner, our building's like right there. So, it's about, like I said, about half a block up. Big blue building, you just go knocking on the door and say, hey, Dave and Suzanne said that we could come down and check you out. And we tell people that all the time. They wanna meet you.
Oh, you'll see that crew like, ooh, and they'll want to show you everything. They love what they do. It is so cool.
Yeah. You know, they got,
Check it out.
the average, one of the biggest questions that pops up is availability. The average flight takes about 2 hours. Let's just say for convenience sake, 3 hours for math purposes. A healthy base is doing 2 flights a day. That's a healthy, financially sound base that they're doing 2 flights a day. You guys have 2 bases supporting your area, and if each base is only busy 25% of the time, and odds are one of those 2 flights is probably you guys, our availability is very, very there. There's 2 things in the terms and conditions I always like to point out because they're the questions that pop up the most regular. I believe one of them says it has to be a normal person.
Can't fly your dog.
It can't fly your horse or your dog. Okay, and I guess that was the easiest way to put it down legally, so it made some sort of sense.
Sure.
The other thing, and they hammer it quite solidly, we will not fly if weather conditions are dangerous to the crew or the patient. We won't fly if conditions in the aircraft where, say, the patient is a danger or something going on is a danger. We won't fly.
Was it the Summit that, over by Belgrade a few years ago, has come in with a flight and crashed, wasn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah, they lost one of their crew members.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a storm, I assumed it was stormy weather, wasn't it?
I'm 99% sure it was,
Yeah.
yeah, it was either fog or
Yeah.
icy
I just
roads.
recall it now.
We're quite adamant about people understanding that weather conditions in Montana, and I know, look at your clock, it's gonna change, but if we're not flying, nobody else. We had a situation in West Yellowstone, or White Sulphur Springs 3 months ago, where they had somebody that needed to be flown, and nobody was flying. Not us, not Billings, not Great Falls, nobody. And they ended up trucking the person out. The other thing is there are circumstances that pop up periodically, like vehicle maintenance, if there's a concern that the vehicle is unsafe. And lastly, if by some chance the crew, obviously if something happens and the pilot's not there, and understand, we've been doing this for a long time, so I have to spell those out just so you guys understand that stuff happens. But I've only, in 7 months, I've only heard of one situation so far where that's popped up. It's not the safety issue, that's popped up a couple times, weather conditions. But where one time the pilot ended up in the hospital, and we don't have a bunch of backup pilots sitting around.
Sure.
They're scheduled quite tight to be where they're at. But on the flip side, they did get a call, and Bozeman was able to come over and take care of the flight. So it's not like we weren't able to take care of the people.
Well, we have the agenda states that we can make a decision today. We have the contract in full. We can also postpone this till Monday if you guys would like.
I would make a motion to go ahead and do the coverage for $24,060 to cover Broadwater County residents.
Do we have a second?
Now, second.
It's been moved and seconded to sign the AirMed Care contract for municipal site membership for $24,060 for coverage of folks in Broadwater County.
You mentioned about PILT, we're gonna put that on the motion to take out the PILT.
Oh, yeah, I can do that.
Okay,
So I'll,
Don't you think that's
I'll
fair?
take your, friendly amendment.
okay, the friendly amendment is that we will take this from PILT. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Excellent.
So I didn't write on my copy, can we make this the assigned one?
When would you guys like the effective date? can-
It states here you need the check, we can't do it, can we do it today with the effective date in 15 days? Is that how that would work?
You can do, if you did, so when would you be talking about cutting a check for that?
We could get that done this week.
Okay, as soon as we have the check, it would start,
Okay,
yeah.
all right.
And all we would do is, as an example, just what is today, the 8th?
Yes.
Just as an example, whatever this date states, that's the effective date.
Okay.
You want to put today?
Yeah.
Since we made the motion, and, all right. Is that good with you guys?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. I did follow up with some questions on this, and I got nothing negative from
Who
any.
did you follow up with, if you don't mind asking?
I don't mind you asking, actually, Madison County Commissioners.
Cool.
I sent an email, and Kyle Hopstead, which I know you had talked to him,
Kyle.
He's,
CEO at the hospital.
Oh, Kyle, sorry.
Yeah.
The name was sitting there hitting in my head, and I'm like, who's Kyle?
Yeah, he's the one that said, yeah, this is gonna be fun, the legislature, so.
Yeah. And you know, it's very frustrating because whenever you've been in the middle of an argument and it's not being shared fairly, that's very frustrating. It's kind of like my kids fighting, you know, I mean, I've got an 11 and 12-year-old that if you hear them in the newspaper, I didn't do it.
That's right.
I can joke about that because this morning with my 12-year-old, oh my gosh, she's lucky she made it to school. Excellent. And what we'll do is we'll send this in. Why don't I get you
Oh,
to sign
actually-
one more?
Yeah, and we need to give one to Ann for our records. Will that work to give them one and we keep one? Okay.
Now, here's the key thing, and I really want to reinforce this. As we move forward, please let me know if you have any questions,
You bet.
okay?
Can I grab one of your cards? Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was that different from the ones you had?
This is me.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
If you guys know of anybody in the Bozeman area who would wanna hear from me, let me know, or if you guys wanna check out that base, let me know. Want a
Awesome.
helicopter ride, let me know.
Okay.
A quick question.
The hard part is hitting you with the car before.
Quick question, where you're located there next to the guards, have your company made any arrangements with it where you could get a guard pilot to fly the?
Oh, as far as working with somebody outside of our company for
Yeah.
flight crew?
Like with the guards there? I mean, you're right there with them.
Right, yeah, no, based upon, believe it or not, on privacy laws and different stuff like that, the crew member has to be a company employee in order to go and fall within the guidelines of, I tell you, I have never been involved in the medical industry before, and it blows my mind, the privacy stuff.
Which is really too bad in this case, because you get
Right there.
a pile of, and some of them are in the medical part of it too, you know, so. But your pilots don't have to have the medical experience, they just have to be a pilot.
They're pilots, yeah. Straight, that's their job. They're very compartmentalized as far as what they do. But the amount of training, from what I understand, the level of training that REACH provides for their employees, when we took over Summit, every single crew member went to California for a month. So it was 3 weeks or a month for training, for medical training. And they're gone, they're down there and they have such extreme expectations of who starts with the company that if you don't go through that training, if you don't fit within the guidelines, they have no problem saying you're not working for us. It's not happening. And it's really exciting because, you got the average, and then you got REACH, and I mean, I don't even work for REACH. They're my counterparts, they're my laterals. And they are a trip. They are a lot of fun to work with. They're very Johnny on the spot. If because we work together, we don't work out of the bases. We have our own mobile offices. Whenever we show up down there, I know for myself, and I've heard it from you, when we go down there, they're excited, they're helpful, they're just plain helpful. I mean, that environment is something that everybody looks for, you know?
Sure.
So, but you guys have my cards and everything. I have to say thank you very much. I appreciate it.
We're excited
Thank
to
you.
work
I
with
have one more thing to add. You asked about anybody in Bozeman you can talk to. Certainly the county commissioners would be a good place to start, but I'm also wondering, MACO, Montana Association of Counties, will have our meeting this September.
Oh,
I would
wow.
like to forward this information to Harold Blatty and see if you guys might be a piece of the agenda to talk to all the county commissioners in the state.
Thank you.
That would be,
Yeah, I think
that would be
this is
phenomenal. And we
for
would be able to
rural
have
counties.
Ron down there and the base
Maybe
manager.
bring some folks that could really.
Oh, heck, yeah.
speak.
I bet you money, the top people in Reach would love to be there, to actually show up. Anna Blair, which is one of the,
We would have some fun.
yeah.
Yeah, I will contact Harold today and give him your information.
Now, with that being said, I have to go and give you guys a little insight from this morning that we found out. The Yellowstone area has a membership, or had a membership program called Air Methods, and it's another company. We are the largest membership program in the country. Air Methods was down to West Yellowstone, parts of Wyoming, and down that direction. I don't know exactly where. They closed their membership program this morning. We got, or I should say, we got notification that they have.
They have been in
Yeah.
contact with Nicholas.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Now,
I will
I
put
guess
this
the
as in
question,
their methods.
Will
Okay.
you send out a flyer or something to all
Everybody.
the residents so they know between this
Everybody.
$35?
And it says, and we will also work with you guys if you want. Madison County, Lori over there put together a really nifty letter that I would be able to work with you guys through your mailing system. I don't want your mailing list, just so you're on the same sheet as me, okay? But I would be willing to go and help finance something going out on your letterhead and in your envelopes. The one that's going out to Marr County says, from your county or something like that, it says something specific on it. So it's not,
Is this the individual that would be here?
She's on the committee, we have a
Oh.
community newsletter, a county
Nice.
newsletter, and Anne's on the committee, so that would be
Yeah.
the subject of our next one.
Oh, that's perfect. That's the county
Yeah.
has a newsletter. It's
I'll
brilliant.
send it out a little bit sooner than a quarter away.
Absolutely.
see, I
Yeah.
don't think you have one of my cards. Let me give
No, I
you-
don't, I've got
Oh,
one from
you know what, I have
Suzanne.
a little packet here.
Okay.
from
Okay.
There you go.
Earlier,
Thank you.
yeah.
And I am very available. Very rarely do I not take calls, so if you leave a voicemail, I'll get back to you as soon as
Okay.
possible. It is a little bit of a process to get everybody, get all the nuts and bolts in place, but I'll be very done on the spot to make that happen. And it'll take over about the next month roughly for everything to come into play. And then what we can do is we can start scheduling when we can get the aircraft in to do an official signing and such.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you so
Good,
very much.
thanks.
No, thank you guys.
Yeah.
So the day you receive the check, then everything's,
Well, it's gonna be effective. As soon as we get the check, it will be effective as of today.
Perfect.
So, when did you want me to come back for that? Sir?
For the check, or we can mail it. Do you want to come back? Thank you.
I'd
Thank
be
you so
willing to
much.
come back.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, then it's just another opportunity to come down and shake
All
hands
right.
and say hi.
Excellent. How about I be in touch with you? We'll talk with accounting, see what day they'll have the check, and
We'll make that happen.
perfect. All right.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
Drive
Very
safe.
much.
Eric, you do.
Take care. Glad to meet you.
We have a little bit of mail. Do you guys want to take care of that and
Sure.
then recess if we,
Yeah.
if we'll have a little extra time? Oh, Seth just brought this to me. This is the audio video recording system for the interview room. And it is an invoice for $13,410.
Come on, the CMP.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, my question then would be, Should it say sheriff slash detention center? 'Cause I know the detention center uses it when DOC comes, does their interview. Should it say sheriff's office slash detention center?
Since it's coming out of the building CIP, it's for building maintenance. I wonder if that fits, should fit. How about this, and I don't think so, because the pot where it's coming from is the same pot regardless of who it's
Okay.
going to.
Okay.
But what I would ask for in our motion is either the building CIP as our first choice, and if it doesn't fit under maintenance, because there's certain requirements under
Yep.
the bars, that we do it out of the build.
It's definitely needed, especially with all the restrictions or.
And it's a capital improvement, that's exactly what we use code for, so it's a
Yeah.
good fit.
So I'd make the motion to award the sheriff's office their Encore interview solution system in the total amount of $13,410, either out of CIP or PILT, whichever fits best.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to honor the request of the Sheriff's Department for the Encore interview system in the tune of the amount of $13,410 from either the building CIP or PILT, whichever fits best. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye?
Aye, motion carries. And I will give this to you, Ann. Okay, and here's another one. This is from DIS, that's our IT company. And right now, we have limited upload. So this is increasing our upload. It's taking two separate lines that go between the sheriff's office and this side of the county into one line. It will also increase speeds for the county attorney's office as well as the commission lines. And it's a total of $475 per month. Currently, we're paying about $200, so it's an increase of only about half of that, about $275. This is needed for the new system the county attorney just got and for county commission to upload for one, these videos.
Yeah.
I've been coming in at night and weekends to get those
Yeah.
done, and that's not okay.
No.
I would make the motion to go ahead and improve our CenturyLink networking service capabilities.
One second.
It's been moved and seconded to sign the contract for DIS to increase our upload of networking services. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye?
Aye, motion carries. Customer.
With Mr. Conkey, has he brought anything official in yet? I've not seen anything.
I haven't either.
Do you know?
Not that I know of.
Okay. Because we're looking at a month. He didn't say he was done at the end of this fiscal year.
Yeah. Yeah, so we need a letter so we can proceed.
Yeah, especially if you want to fill his position
Yeah,
with his help.
right, right. And it's one of the most important, well, all the positions are important in their own way. You guys wanna wait on this stuff till Monday and
Yeah.
recess? Okay.
That'd be great.
It's just basic mail, so we will recess and come back at 1.
That works.
All right.